Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today we are going to be doing some stenciling. I chose the floral mosaic stencil, and then these are some older sentiments. These are the like big time sentiments. Even though they're older, I still get a lot of use out of them. I like that they're bigger, and especially for something like this where the background's kind of going to be the star of the show, having those bigger sentiments is pretty priceless. So here I've cut my paper to exactly 6 by 6, which means that there's no overhang for the edge of my stencil to stick to my sticky mat. So I am having to use tape, and I'm going to do blues. So I originally pulled out Speckled Egg, Stormy Sky, Faded Jeans, and Chip Sapphire in the Distress Oxides. And so I didn't know how I was going to do my design. If I had to do it all over again, I probably would have just went ahead and cut them to an A2 size. So I would have that overhang for the stencil to stick to the sticky mat. And then I went ahead and mess around with the tape. So just one of those things that do as I say, not as I did, lesson learned. That's all. So here I'm going in first with the Speckled Egg, and this is kind of like a bluish gray, like a pale bluish gray. But I'm going to be honest with you, once it was compared to the other blues, it started looking mighty green. So I'll show you kind of what my fix was for that. But basically there's 4 stencils in this set, and I'm just going to use one color for each stencil. So the first one does the kind of larger pattern florals. This second one does the centers as well as the quilted lines, like the tile lines. I think that this would be a really, really great one to use by itself, and maybe with some texture paste. And you could almost get a quilted version in the background, or maybe some embossing. I have some ideas for this that I think I want to play around with in the future. But for now, we're just doing very simple coloring. The reason that I chose to use the Distress Oxides is honestly because of you guys. I don't typically reach for Distress Oxides. I usually reach for Distress Inks, but after kind of chit-chatting with you all, it seems that Distress Oxides is more popular. That's more of what you use. So I was like, okay, well, let's see how these pan out. I will say that and I knew this before, they dry back softer, which is kind of nice because for right now in my life, I'm still very much making cards based on functionality, and I have some thank you cards to send out after my mom's services. So having something that's a little bit softer kind of served my purpose here. But I do think that I do want to use this stencil with really bright colors, because I think that would be a lot of fun. So there we went out to the Faded Jeans, and then the Chip Sapphire is the last one, and this is the one that's going to put in the other 4 petals of the largest floral, and then it's also going to put in 4, in a little square pattern, 4 little other florals. So all together, they build this really beautiful design, but you could definitely use them individually and get different looks. So I think that there's, like I said, I think there's something interesting there to play with. So one of the things that I really love about Distress Oxides is that they layer on top of each other. So this is actually one of the reasons why I don't care for them when it comes to blending my backgrounds, because they don't truly blend. They kind of more lay on top of each other, but it's really, really nice when you make an error. So here I told you that Speckled Egg is reading really green, and I didn't love it. So I'm going to put the stencil back in place. This is the first stencil that we used. I'm going to tape it down so that it's not moving. And then I am going to go right over top of it with the Stormy Sky. And it's going to cover that speckled egg for like the majority of it. Is there maybe like a little tinge different? Maybe. Or maybe it's just because I know that there was another color underneath it. But because it has that pigment property, it does kind of lay over top of the other ones really easily. And then you'll see once I remove it, like it's definitely more blue and less green, which is what I was going for in the first place. So this pigment property is also super cool for darker colors. So I chose black. But you could do any dark colored cardstock, and I have done this before. So here I'm just going to lay down my first stencil, and you can do this with just Distress Oxide inks, and you will be able to see them on the black background. I do find that I have an easier time getting a little bit more brightness if I lay down a layer of white pigment ink and then put the Distress Oxide on top of that. It just kind of gives it a little bit of a lift. So for each of these colors on the black, I will be laying down some white just to help lift them up. And I know that I've done this in another video, maybe a little bit more in depth. With like adding some coloring and things like that. So I will try to remember to link that at the end. But this white is going to help those colors like really pop off. And so because I learned my lesson, with the speckled egg for the last one, I'm not even going to use it this time. I'm just going to go straight in with the Stormy Sky, and I'm going to use it twice. I'm going to use it for the stencils 1 and 2. And honestly, no regrets about that. The other thing you might be worried about is like, hey, you didn't clean the stencil in between. Is that white pigment ink going to contaminate my brush or my ink pad? I did not find that to be the case. I just went right over top of it, and all of my brushes, they don't have any of that white on there. Same thing with my ink pads. I didn't notice any white there either. But of course you could remove it, clean it off, and then, put it back on. I think I have done that in the past. Just to be safe, but I really didn't notice it, picking up any of the white and redepositing it. Here is where, like I told you guys, if I had to do it all over again, I'd cut it to be an A2, because in order to hold my stencil in place, as you just saw, I literally had to like palm it. So afterward, when I took my stencils to the sink to wash them off, I also had to wash my hands because I had all of this ink that was stuck to my fingers, which can get a little tricky because, you don't want to get it anywhere on your card that you don't want it. So I would recommend the sticky matte, smaller size card. So, so these are, like I said, these are some thank you cards that I do need. Personally, I know you guys have, probably have not seen a lot of me online. I really did not create. Oh, here, look it. Did you see what I did? Like I went automatically in with the blue and completely forgot the white. So I just let that corner go. And actually, I don't even think I ended up. Maybe I used a small portion of that corner when I actually trimmed it down. And to me, there wasn't a noticeable difference. So, because I did try, like when I went back in with the blue, I did try to like carry some of that white up in there. But anyway, so personally, I know that you guys know what's been going on in my life with the passing of my mom. And so her services were this past week. And so I have not created anything. This is the first thing that I have made in probably like a week. And like I said, just creating right now on the things that are functional. I do very much enjoy doing the lives with you guys over on the Honeybee. It's on the Honeybee channel and it's also on my channel. I enjoy that because it is a welcome distraction to spend time with like-minded people that I enjoy having conversation with. So I do thank you for those of you who show up for the lives, because you are very helpful to me right now, and I am very grateful for that. So one of these thank you cards, I know I showed you guys before, the one for my mom's hospice nurse, Kelly. We did a video for that one, but there was an aide named Terry, and Terry would come and help us give mom a bath. And because it just is what it is. She's also the same one who would used to come and help us give Graham a bath. So here you can see very, very different on white and on black. But I love them both. I think they're both really, really pretty. Here, I just wanted to show you some little accents that you can do on the white one. You could go in with a fine liner and kind of outline them so that they're a bit darker. I didn't love that. You can also go in with a white gel pen and, add some accents that way. And I did add very minimal to the white. I definitely added more to the black, and you'll see, I cannot stop myself. I can't stop myself from adding more. So just as the card progresses, I keep stopping and adding more of the white highlights. In this case, I have the stencil put back in place, and I'm just tracing around the edge, and that works really well. If you want something a little less rigid and a little bit more whimsical, you definitely can skip the stencil and just go in with the pen and just kind of outline them. I did that on the black one with the center of the flowers. I didn't follow the stencil. I just went in, same thing with the lines when I add those. I just kind of freehanded them. And I was happy with the way that those came out too. But if you are a person who you're like, I really like that nice clean edge, then just put the stencil back in place and trace them out. So anyway, Terry, actually we knew because of Graham, and then she came out for mom as well. So one of these thank you cards is for her. And then the other one is actually for my neighbors. Life is hard, okay? It is. There are hard things that happen to us, and we, just do the best that we can to get through them. But sometimes when those hard things are happening, it gives the people in our life an opportunity to really show up. And one of the first people in the door at my mom's wake were my neighbors. And it immediately brought me to tears because it was so unexpected. I never expected them to take time out of their day to show up, for something like that. It was such a blessing. And now they're I told you guys before, I was making them a card to tell them congratulations selling their house. They're moving. They're moving, and they're such kind, wonderful people. So I did want to make them a thank you card. And then when we got home that night, they had actually left a card and a little gift bag on our porch. And it's funny, how things work out because there was no way for them to know, but they had got us a little candle, and the candle is lavender scented. And my mom loved lavender. She loved it. She used to buy it and put it in little mesh bags so Peanut could sleep with it underneath his pillow. So it was very touching, and I'm very grateful for them. So I wanted to, make sure that I thanked them. So I'm sure I'll probably send over some kind of baked good because, very much like my mother, I love people with food, specifically bakery. So anyway, I decided to do just a very simple white embossed sentiment on, this is navy blue, because that matched both of the cards. I could have done it on black for the one, but not for the other. And honestly, I was just trying to be efficient. So the I originally set them up to be the other way around, and you'll see once I get them. Oh yeah, we do this one doesn't have dies for the little sayings. That was kind of before that was a thing for honeybee. So, but they do all trim out very nicely into a label. And in fact, the labels that honeybee has, like the mini messages ones, they probably would fit. I just actually completely forgot about them until we were talking about it right now. But so I just trim them. I like that Fiskars trimmer for that because it does have the wire on there. So one of them I've just cut, the darker background, I've cut to be 4 by 5 1/4. So I'll have just like that 1/4 inch border all the way around. And then the other one I cut to be 3 by 4 1/4. So that I kind of have, I think of it as like an empire waist dress, where it's like 3/4 of the card is pattern and then 1/4 of the card is not. So I originally set up the white one to be the thank you for your kindness, but then I realized as I was looking at them that the thank you for everything would actually fill up more of that blank white space at the top. So that is why I switched them. And you could definitely like make these stand out more by, popping them up on foam, or something like that. Here's where, see, I told you I can't stop adding stuff. So now I'm going in and just freehanding the line, that little like kind of quilted line. And this for me is really the part that kind of like brought it all together, because before it felt very much like those larger flowers were floating and I didn't love that. But now within adding the lines, it doesn't feel like anything is floating. It feels more of like a cohesive pattern in the background. And if you wanted that pattern to be more subtle, like just skip all of the white detail and you would have a really nice subtle pattern in the background. Here, pro tip, not really. I'm not a professional. I just play one on YouTube, I guess. But anyway, I do make my patterns just a little bit larger than the 4 1/4. Like I cut on the outside of the line instead of the inside of the line just to make sure, because since I do cut my own card fronts from cardstock, like sometimes they are off by just a little bit. So that's just to make sure that it's going to be like flush right up against the edge. And then I used the same blue cardstock that I did the heat embossing on to create like a little bit of a edge. It just looks more finished that way. Or at least that's what I think. And then so I did the thank you for everything up there at the top, and I do feel like like that filled in the white space a little bit nicer. And then just put in the for everything there. I'm going to, of course, because I can't stop myself, I'm going to add some sparkle and with some rhinestones. These are the rainbow rhinestones. I literally just have them on my desk all of the time. And so sometimes they're the easiest ones to grab. So I grabbed those, and then also the sparkle, like the clear sparkle pen. You just have to be really, really careful with that because these are a distress ink, which means they move with water. So if you go out of the lines per se, like you're going to carry that color other places. So yeah, these were super fun to make. I like that it was like the thought was kind of taken out of it for me, and I was still able to get something that was unique and I was happy with in the end. We are currently in our lives on Wednesdays, 1 p.m. Eastern time. We are doing some we did coloring of some cats and dogs last week. And so this upcoming week, we will be doing the coloring of like the flowers and the pots, and hopefully bringing them together to make complete cards. So if you're interested in that, the replays are always available if that time slot doesn't work for you. I do love seeing you guys there, and I think honestly I'll probably try to plan on doing more lives as it progresses. We'll just see how much you know, how much time that we have. But nonetheless, here are both of the cards with the floral mosaic. They look different, but I think that they're still both really pretty. I hope you learned a little something. Thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate it, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.